"Do it again, human. Put your long organ in, love me again, human," said the alien. The stars stretched endlessly across the dark sky, a tapestry of distant fires that no alien could ever fully understand. Captain Mara Elwyn stood at the bridge of the starship Aurora, her fingers brushing lightly over the controls, feeling the subtle hum of the engines beneath her palms. Around her, the crew moved with quiet precision, each one aware of the stakes that rested on their shoulders. Humanity had reached further than ever before, sending its emissaries into corners of the galaxy where no human had walked before. And yet, this mission felt different. Something in the alien signals they had intercepted spoke of caution, curiosity, and, oddly, admiration. The destination was a planet known to humans only as Violia 9, a lush world orbiting a sun slightly larger than Sol. The Violians, the planet's dominant species, had observed Earth for decades. They were advanced, not in the way humans thought of advancement, with rockets and computers, but in a way that was subtle and precise. Their cities glimmered from space, a lattice of light and water that pulsed with a rhythm almost musical. Yet, for all their technological mastery, they had never interacted with humans directly. Until now. As the Aurora descended through Violia 9 upper atmosphere, Mara felt the familiar pull of anticipation in her chest. The planet's surface was a swirl of green forests and silver rivers, sprawling over mountains that caught the light of the distant sun like scattered jewels. The Violians' main city, Talisma, rose in the distance, a collection of floating platforms connected by translucent bridges, humming softly with energy that Mara could almost feel in her bones. "Captain," said Lieutenant Curran, her voice steady but tinged with awe. "Sensors indicate multiple life forms in the city's central plaza. They appear to be waiting for us." Mara nodded. She had trained for decades for this moment, for first contact that could define humanity's place in the galaxy. "Prepare the landing protocol. I want to make a good impression." The ship touched down on a platform designed specifically for visitors. The landing was smooth, almost silent, as if the planet itself welcomed them. As the doors opened, a gentle wind carried scents of unfamiliar flora, sweet and sharp at the same time. The crew stepped out cautiously, eyes wide, noting the alien architecture. From the plaza, beings emerged. They were tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like polished glass and eyes deep as pools of night. They did not speak as humans did, but a soft vibration filled the air, a language of feelings rather than words. Mara felt a twinge of nervousness. Communication would be a challenge, but she had faith in human adaptability. The lead Violian extended a limb, a gesture Mara interpreted as greeting. She bowed slightly, as protocol dictated, and then extended her own hand. The alien mirrored her motion, and a spark of recognition passed between them, subtle but unmistakable. "Humans," the vibration conveyed, resonating in Mara's mind more than her ears. "We have watched your kind for long. You are unpredictable, yet remarkable." Mara's chest swelled with cautious pride. Humans had always been underestimated. Our strength, she thought, lies not only in our technology but in our spirit, in our will to learn and adapt. The Violian led them through the city, showing a world of impossible engineering and artistic beauty. Bridges of light spanned open skies, towers twisted into shapes that defied gravity, and fields of energy seemed to flow through the streets, lighting everything without the need for fire. The humans moved carefully, absorbing every detail. Curran whispered to Mara, "They're testing us, I think, watching how we react." Indeed, the Violians were subtle observers. At every turn, their questions came not in words but in scenarios, challenges that required humans to think, to collaborate, to demonstrate ingenuity. A bridge that needed to be crossed could only support one species at a time. A puzzle of flowing water demanded patience and cooperation, and at each step, the humans performed not with brute force but with creativity. Mara smiled to herself. This was the human way. When faced with impossibility, humans did not surrender. They adapted. Where others might see failure, they saw opportunity. She watched her crew solve problems the Violians had likely never expected to be solved so quickly. Hours passed, though time felt strange under the influence of Violian perception. Finally, they reached the central spire, a vast structure of light and crystalline energy that hummed with power. The lead Violian gestured toward it, and Mara understood. This was the test's final stage, a demonstration not of skill but of intent. The spire projected a holographic simulation, a world in turmoil. Natural disasters, environmental collapse, and social unrest unfolded before their eyes. Your species' potential is being measured, the Violian transmitted. Could you thrive where others fail? Mara took a deep breath. The humans before her had not been chosen for strength alone, but for curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity. She turned to her crew. Remember, it's not about winning, it's about showing who we are. Together, they approached the simulation. Instead of panicking, they analyzed, planned, and acted. They repaired broken systems, created solutions to complex problems, and even managed to establish communication between conflicting societies within the simulation. The Violians watched, their silent expressions unreadable. When the simulation ended, Mara felt exhaustion and exhilaration in equal measure. She looked up at the lead Violian who had remained still, observing everything. Then slowly, the being's form brightened, shimmering more intensely than before. The vibration came again, resonating directly with Mara's mind. You are unlike any species we have encountered. Your resilience, your cooperation, your ability to see possibilities, it is extraordinary. You have passed the measure of the human way. Mara felt a flush of pride, but tempered it with humility. Humans had many flaws, she knew, but in moments of challenge, they often revealed something greater. The Violians, she realized, had not merely been testing their intelligence, they had been testing their spirit. The humans were escorted to a grand hall, where light and energy played in ways Mara could not fully describe. The Violians offered a gesture of friendship, an invitation to share knowledge, culture, and experience. For the first time in the galaxy, humans were not only explorers, they were equals in a conversation that spanned stars. As night fell over Talisma, Mara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights below reflected the stars above, and she felt a deep sense of connection. This was the human way, not just to survive, but to thrive, to learn, to inspire. It was a lesson she hoped would echo across the cosmos. "Captain," Curran said softly, breaking her reverie, "do you think they understand us?" Mara smiled, her eyes on the horizon where alien skies met human hope. "Not fully," she said, "but that's the point. Understanding is a journey, not a destination, and humans are worth understanding." The wind carried the subtle hum of Violian energy, a song without words, and Mara felt it resonate within her. Humanity had taken its first steps among the stars not through conquest, but through curiosity, courage, and cooperation. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time Mara believed that humans would not only survive, they would shine. And somewhere deep in the universe, the Violians, silent watchers for so long, began to see that the human way was something entirely new, something worth following. The morning light spilled over Talisma, painting the city in shades of gold and silver. Captain Mara Elwyn stood on the observation platform, watching the Violians move with their quiet elegance. For days, the humans had learned and observed, demonstrating creativity, patience, and ingenuity. But today, they faced a challenge unlike any before. A Violian counselor approached, their translucent form shimmering in the sunlight. The vibration that spoke in Mara's mind was clear and firm. "The galaxy has observed you. Other species wonder if humans can rise to challenges beyond survival. We offer you a trial, not for conquest, but for understanding. Will you accept?" Mara nodded, her chest filled with determination. "We accept." The humans were led to a vast arena-like structure, open to the sky yet enclosed in fields of energy. It was not a battlefield, but a testing ground for intelligence, strategy, and cooperation. Holographic simulations flickered to life, showing worlds in crisis. Planets facing environmental collapse, societies struggling with resource shortages, and regions where communication had failed entirely. "You will find solutions," the counselor's vibration continued. "Use your mind, your heart, your creativity. We seek proof of the human way, how you solve problems, care for others, and adapt." Myra turned to her crew. Lieutenant Curran, Engineering Officer Taro, Communications Specialist Lena, and the rest of the team looked both nervous and excited. They had faced challenges before, but nothing on this scale. Yet Mara believed in them. Humans were unpredictable in ways that made them powerful, capable of seeing possibilities others missed. The first simulation presented a planet with dwindling water supplies. Its cities were crumbling under the strain, and conflict brewed among its people. Taro analyzed the data. The problem isn't just scarcity, he said. It's distribution. They have resources, but they don't share them efficiently. Mara smiled. Then let's show them the human way. Working together, the crew devised a plan to redistribute water using simple but effective technology. They created automated channels and filtration systems, ensuring water reached every settlement. But they didn't stop there. They also facilitated communication between city leaders, teaching them to collaborate rather than compete. The simulation responded immediately. Where chaos had reigned, cooperation began. Cities stabilized, and the people celebrated not because humans controlled the outcome, but because humans had guided them to solve their own problems. Next came a society facing political unrest. Leaders argued endlessly, and citizens grew frustrated. Lena suggested a new approach. We don't need to dictate solutions. Let's create a system where dialogue is encouraged and decisions are transparent. Using holographic simulations, the humans demonstrated forums for discussion, methods for fair representation, and simple tools to record agreements. Slowly, order returned. The Virelian observers watched in silence, though Mara could feel their curiosity growing. Humans were proving that solutions didn't always need force. Sometimes, understanding and creativity were stronger than power. The final challenge was the most complex. A planet was being torn apart by natural disasters. Storms, earthquakes, and volcanic activity threatened millions. The humans quickly realized that no single solution could work. We need to coordinate on every level, Mara said. Engineering, communication, resource management, and empathy. Her crew split into teams. Taro and his engineers built emergency shelters and redirected rivers to prevent flooding. Lena and Curran coordinated communication between city leaders, ensuring that evacuations were smooth and orderly. Mara herself oversaw the integration of their efforts, constantly adapting plans as new variables appeared. Hours passed in the simulation, yet the humans did not falter. They worked tirelessly, using creativity, collaboration, and empathy to solve problems that seemed impossible. Slowly, the disasters were mitigated, the population saved, and the planet stabilized. When the final holographic challenge ended, the arena was silent. The Virelians gathered, their shimmering forms reflecting light like crystals. The lead counselor's vibration filled Mara's mind once more. You have proven that humans are more than clever, more than strong. You are adaptable, compassionate, and inventive. You rise not by force, but by understanding. This is the human way. Mara felt a surge of pride, but she remained humble. We did not do this alone, she said. Our crew worked together, and every challenge taught us to listen, to learn, and to act thoughtfully. That is what humans do. We grow, we adapt, we cooperate. The Virelians' light shimmered brighter as if they were smiling. You will be ambassadors, the counselor continued. Not only for humans, but for the idea that species can rise through cooperation and wisdom. Other civilizations will look to you as examples. Mara nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. Humanity had taken its place not just among the stars, but in the hearts of other beings. The galaxy was watching, and humans had shown their potential, not through war or domination, but through ingenuity, courage, and empathy. As the humans prepared to return to their ship, the Virelians offered gifts, technologies that could help Earth, knowledge that could expand human understanding, and connections that could foster cooperation across the galaxy. Mara accepted graciously, understanding that trust was earned, not taken. Back on the Aurora, Mara and her crew reflected on what they had achieved. Curran looked at her captain, eyes wide with awe. Do you think the rest of the galaxy is ready for humans? Mara smiled, leaning against the railing as the planet's light played across her face. The galaxy doesn't have to be ready. Humans are ready, and that is enough. The journey home was quiet, filled with a sense of purpose and hope. Humanity had proven that it was not a species to be underestimated. They had survived countless challenges on their home planet, and now they had faced the universe itself. The human way, curiosity, ingenuity, empathy, and collaboration was a force that no one could ignore. When Earth came into view, its blue oceans and green continents seemed brighter than ever. Mara felt a swell of pride and responsibility. Humans had a chance to lead, not through fear, but through example. They could inspire others, share knowledge, and build alliances that would last generations. The Aurora landed smoothly, and the crew stepped onto their home planet with heads held high. Word of their mission would spread, and soon humans would be seen as more than explorers. They would be seen as pioneers of a new kind of galactic understanding. In the weeks that followed, messages from other species began to arrive. Invitations to share knowledge, requests for collaboration, and expressions of admiration flooded human communications networks. The galaxy was opening its arms, and humanity had proven itself worthy. Captain Mara Elwyn looked out over the Earth, feeling the weight of possibility. The human way had been tested, and it had triumphed, not by force, but by the qualities that had always defined humans: resilience, creativity, compassion, and cooperation. She knew the journey was only beginning. The stars were endless, and challenges would continue to arise. But humanity had learned an important truth. When faced with the unknown, when faced with what others believed impossible, humans could rise, adapt, and inspire. And somewhere far across the galaxy, the Virelians watched, smiling in their quiet, subtle way, knowing that they had witnessed the rise of a species unlike any other. A species whose future was not just survival, but greatness. The human way, once tested, had proven itself. And the universe would never be the same. The galaxy was alive with movement, signals, and possibilities. After the humans' mission on Virelia 9, news of their ingenuity and cooperation had spread faster than anyone could have imagined. Captain Mara Elwyn stood on the bridge of the starship Aurora II, a larger, upgraded version of their original vessel. Around her, the crew bustled with energy, not from fear, but from excitement. Humanity was no longer just explorers. It had become a symbol of hope and ingenuity in the wider galaxy. "Captain," said Lieutenant Curran, pointing at the navigation display, "we have multiple incoming transmissions. Systems from 4 different star systems are requesting human guidance or collaboration." Mara smiled. "Set up a secure communication channel. Let's hear what they have to say." The first message was from the planet Aridessa, a desert world struggling with resource scarcity. The second came from Linther, whose ocean cities were threatened by rising tides. The third was from a cluster of planets called the Karun Belt, seeking advice on social organization after a sudden population boom. The fourth was from a species entirely unknown, transmitting in patterns of light and vibration, much like the Virelians. Mara turned to her crew. "This is bigger than anything we've faced before. We're not just helping one planet, we're showing the galaxy what humans can do. Let's make sure we do it the right way." The first challenge, Aridessa, was urgent. Its people had little water and poor agricultural systems. The humans devised a plan combining technology and cooperation. They built simple irrigation systems, designed solar-powered water purifiers, and taught the locals techniques to store water efficiently. But they did more than fix infrastructure. They organized local councils, encouraging communities to share resources fairly and make decisions together. When the Aridessans saw the changes, a transformation occurred. Tension between villages eased, and a sense of trust blossomed. Mara watched the reports on the holoscreen. "This is what humans do," she said quietly. "We don't just solve problems, we build trust." Next was Linther. Its ocean cities were experiencing severe flooding, and many structures were in danger. The humans sent engineers and mathematicians, working alongside the Linthorians to reinforce buildings, create mobile flood barriers, and design early warning systems. But again, the human approach was unique. They did not simply impose solutions. They taught the Linthorians to analyze weather patterns, share information, and prepare as a community. Captain Mara noticed something remarkable. Everywhere humans went, problems were not just solved, they were understood. Species began to learn for themselves, gaining skills they could use long after the humans had left. This was more than assistance. It was empowerment. As the humans worked, the unknown species from the fourth message observed silently. Their communication was complex, using light patterns and vibrations that pulsed across the Aurora II. At first, the crew struggled to understand, but Mara encouraged patience. "Humans can learn anything if we pay attention. Let's observe, then act." After days of study, they discovered that the species was sending signals representing emotions, intentions, and patterns of survival. Using a combination of light mapping and vibration translation, the crew slowly established contact. The aliens were facing a delicate problem. Their colonies depended on synchronized movement, and any disruption caused chaos. Mara suggested an approach rooted in human observation and empathy. By creating small feedback systems that allowed each individual to communicate more effectively, the aliens regained harmony in their colonies. The unknown species responded with patterns of light that felt almost like laughter. Mara allowed herself a small smile. Humans were learning not only about the galaxy, they were teaching themselves to see life in ways they had never imagined. But it was not all smooth. In the Karun Belt, disagreements between planets threatened to escalate into conflict. The humans had to negotiate carefully, balancing diplomacy with ingenuity. Mara convened representatives in a virtual meeting, guiding discussions, encouraging compromise, and proposing solutions that were fair and practical. Tensions flared when a planet refused to share vital energy resources. Mara did not threaten, nor did she use authority. Instead, she demonstrated the consequences of isolation versus cooperation, allowing the planets to see the benefits of working together. Slowly, understanding grew. Agreements were made, and the Karun Belt became one of the first multi-planet alliances in the galaxy initiated by humans. As they traveled from one challenge to another, the humans began to realize the scope of their influence. Their actions were not just changing individual worlds, they were shaping the culture of the galaxy. Everywhere they went, other species began to experiment with cooperation, empathy, and shared learning. Humans had not come as conquerors, they had arrived as catalysts. One evening, as the Aurora II traveled through a quiet nebula, Mara stood at the observation deck, watching the swirl of gas and distant stars. Lieutenant Curran joined her. "Captain," she said softly, "do you ever wonder if we're moving too fast? If we're changing the galaxy too quickly?" Mara considered this. "Change is always met with doubt," she said. "But humans don't seek to dominate. We seek to understand, to help, to inspire. That's why the galaxy is responding to us. The human way isn't about speed, it's about direction." Their reflection was interrupted by a signal from the Viorlians. "You continue to exceed our expectations," their vibration said. "The galaxy observes you and many species are inspired. But challenges remain, forces beyond cooperation and empathy still exist. Are you ready to face them?" Mara nodded. "We are ready. Humanity learns quickly, adapts, and perseveres. That is who we are." The next challenge was not a single planet, but a region of space plagued by natural hazards, asteroid storms, magnetic disturbances, and unpredictable radiation waves. Previous civilizations had avoided the area, calling it dangerous and unpassable. The humans, however, approached it not with fear, but with careful calculation, innovation, and trust in one another. Taro and his engineers modified the ship's navigation systems, adding adaptive shields and stabilizing thrusters. Lena worked with alien allies from earlier missions to map the hazards in real time, creating safe corridors for travel. Mara coordinated the effort, ensuring that every adjustment was precise and proactive. The Aurora II sailed through the stormy region like a living organism, avoiding dangers that had stymied countless others. When they emerged on the other side, the crew cheered, not just for survival, but for having turned an impossible challenge into a manageable one. The Viorlians' message came again. "Your species demonstrates more than ingenuity. You inspire confidence, courage, and hope. The galaxy will remember this moment." As the humans journeyed home, they encountered a council of species that had never interacted before. They were wary of humans at first, but Mara's crew used what they had learned: patience, clear communication, and humility. They demonstrated solutions to shared problems and listened to concerns. Slowly, the council opened, acknowledging humans as equals and visionaries. The return to Earth was triumphant, yet subdued. Mara knew that the galaxy's story had only begun and humans were a part of it. They had proven their ingenuity, cooperation, and compassion, but more importantly, they had proven that change in the galaxy was possible when species worked together. On landing, Mara addressed her crew. "We have learned more than we could have imagined. But our mission is ongoing. Every challenge we face teaches us, shapes us, and prepares us to help others. Humanity's role is not to dominate, but to guide, to inspire, to show what is possible when we act together." The crew nodded, proud and ready for the next adventure. The stars above seemed brighter, filled with opportunities, mysteries, and the potential for cooperation. Humans were no longer just a species on a single planet. They were a force for understanding in a galaxy full of possibilities. In the weeks that followed, humans established educational exchanges, technical collaborations, and cultural sharing programs with multiple species. Young humans trained alongside alien peers, learning and teaching in equal measure. Knowledge flowed freely, challenges were met with creativity, and the seeds of a cooperative galaxy began to take root. Captain Mara Elwyn, standing once more on the observation deck of the Aurora II, reflected on the journey. The human way had been tested across multiple worlds, in countless simulations, and through real challenges that affected millions of lives. The results were clear. Humans did not merely survive, they thrived, adapted, and inspired. The universe, Mara thought, was vast, mysterious, and sometimes dangerous. But it was also full of potential, and humans had shown that they could meet that potential with courage, empathy, and ingenuity. As long as they remained true to the human way, there was no challenge they could not face. And so, as the stars stretched infinitely around them, humanity's journey continued, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as pioneers of hope, cooperation, and understanding. The galaxy watched, learned, and slowly began to change, one world at a time, guided by the example of one remarkable species. Humans. The galaxy had begun to change, quietly but unmistakably. Captain Mara Elwyn stood on the bridge of the starship Aurora III, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. Humanity had gone from isolated explorers to respected participants in interstellar affairs. The lessons of Violia 9 and the following missions had spread, influencing countless worlds and species. Yet Mara knew this was only the beginning. True leadership required patience, vision, and the willingness to face the unknown. "Captain," Lieutenant Curran said, pointing at the navigation console, "we have detected a distress signal from the Traloon cluster. Entire colonies are at risk due to a sudden solar storm. It's unlike anything recorded in previous scans." Mara's expression hardened with determination. "Prepare for immediate jump. We need to help them." The jump through hyperspace was smooth, but the crew could feel the tension in the air. The Traloon cluster was a densely packed region of stars, planets, and asteroid belts. Many of the colonies there relied heavily on delicate technology, and a solar storm of this magnitude could destroy infrastructure, communication networks, and essential life support. Mara knew this mission would demand everything her crew had learned. Upon arrival, the scene was chaotic. Solar winds tore through the outer colonies, knocking out energy shields and scattering debris across settlements. Panic had begun to spread among the Traloon inhabitants, a species of intelligent, amphibious beings who had never faced such a natural disaster on this scale. "Dividing teams," Mara said calmly. "Taro and the engineers stabilize energy grids. Lena and Curran coordinate evacuation and communication. I will oversee the integration of all efforts. Remember, the human way isn't just solving problems, it's helping others solve their own problems." The crew moved quickly, establishing temporary shields to protect the most vulnerable colonies. Engineers worked tirelessly to reroute energy from unaffected regions to critical systems. Mara coordinated with Traloon leaders, teaching them techniques to distribute energy efficiently and maintain safety protocols even under extreme stress. Slowly, the colonies stabilized. Power returned to essential systems, communication lines were re-established, and the inhabitants began to recover. What amazed Mara most was how the Traloon responded. Under guidance, they began to organize themselves, sharing resources and knowledge, and even innovating solutions the humans had not considered. By the end of the first day, the crisis had been significantly mitigated, not only because of human intervention, but because humans had inspired the Traloon to act collaboratively. As the storm finally passed, the Traloon Council addressed Mara and her crew. "Your species demonstrates not only intelligence but guidance and empathy," their collective voice hummed in resonance. "We have never seen such coordination and care. Humans show a way forward." Mara nodded, feeling the familiar mix of pride and humility. "We learn from you as much as you learn from us. Together, we can face challenges no species could handle alone." The next weeks brought new responsibilities. The humans traveled to multiple star systems, addressing crises ranging from ecological imbalance to interspecies misunderstandings. In one system, two neighboring planets disputed access to a shared resource. Instead of dictating terms, Mara helped both sides understand each other's needs, facilitated communication, and guided them toward a mutually beneficial solution. By the time they left, both planets had signed agreements that would prevent conflict for generations. In another system, a species called the Zephyrians struggled with disease outbreaks. The humans did not impose cures. They provided knowledge and methods, showing the Zephyrians how to build effective medical systems and train local experts. The results were transformative. What began as a threat became an opportunity for growth, resilience, and empowerment. The most unusual challenge came from the orbiting colonies of a gas giant called Ilimpara. The colonies were threatened by erratic gravity fluctuations caused by unknown cosmic forces. The humans observed patterns, tested hypotheses, and collaborated with Olimparans to stabilize the orbiting stations. Once again, the human approach was unique. They did not rely solely on technology. They relied on observation, teamwork, and adaptability. Within days, the Olimparan colonies were safe, and their leaders expressed profound gratitude for the humans' guidance. Mara reflected on all these missions. Everywhere humans went, they faced challenges not only of science and engineering, but also of culture, communication, and cooperation. Yet they thrived because humans were versatile, inventive, and empathetic. Unlike many species that relied on domination or strict hierarchy, humans adapted to circumstances, listened, learned, and acted with integrity. The galaxy was beginning to recognize this, not just as curiosity, but as a new standard. During a quiet moment in the observation deck, Curran spoke softly. "Captain, do you ever think we are changing too much too fast? Some species might not be ready for the human way." Mara considered this. "Change is always met with hesitation," she said. "But our goal isn't to force change, it's to offer possibilities. If other species choose to embrace them, they do so willingly. That is true cooperation, and it is far stronger than domination." The crew had a rare moment of rest before the next challenge. Suddenly, a transmission arrived from the Virelians. "Your influence grows," the message resonated in Mara's mind. "We observe a gathering of species at the edge of the Androxus sector. They face complex environmental, technological, and political challenges. We recommend your assistance." Mara turned to her crew, her voice firm and inspiring. "We've come this far, but the galaxy's challenges are greater than any single planet. Androxus will test everything we've learned, but I have no doubt we can rise to meet it the human way." Upon arrival in Androxus, the situation was unprecedented. A network of planets faced interconnected crises. Volcanic activity threatened energy stations, political disputes hindered aid, and resource shortages loomed. Mara quickly organized the crew into specialized teams. Engineers stabilized infrastructure, communicators built links between planetary leaders, and planners devised solutions integrating ecology, technology, and social systems. It was a race against time. The volcanic activity was unpredictable, yet the humans remained calm, using simulations to predict outcomes, adjust strategies, and coordinate actions. Slowly, the planet stabilized. Energy grids were repaired, populations were safely relocated, and disputes were resolved through negotiation rather than conflict. The leaders of Androxus met with Mara in a great hall of light and energy. "We have never seen such clarity of action combined with empathy," they said. "Humans not only solve problems, but they inspire others to solve problems for themselves." Mara smiled. "That is what humans do. We do not act alone, we act together. And we learn from everyone we meet. The human way is not just about survival. It is about collaboration, understanding, and the courage to act when needed." The human's reputation continued to grow. Across the galaxy, species began to adopt new methods of problem-solving inspired by human approaches. Councils formed, joint projects flourished, and knowledge sharing became common. Mara realized that humanity had become a bridge, linking species, sharing wisdom, and fostering trust across countless worlds. As the Aurora III returned to Earth, Mara reflected on the journey. Each mission had tested them, but each mission had also reinforced their strengths. Curiosity, empathy, adaptability, and cooperation were not just human traits. They were their greatest tools in shaping a better future for all beings in the galaxy. When Earth appeared on the horizon, lush and vibrant, Mara felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humanity had proven that it could face challenges far beyond its home planet, not through force or dominance, but through ingenuity, understanding, and heart. The galaxy had taken notice. On landing, Mara addressed her crew and the gathered observers. We have seen what the universe can throw at us. We have learned that our greatest strength lies not only in our technology, but in our spirit, our creativity, and our ability to work together. The human way is one of hope, perseverance, and understanding. It is a way that the galaxy can follow if we choose to lead by example. The crew cheered, proud of the countless lives they had touched. Mara knew the journey was far from over. The galaxy held infinite challenges, mysteries, and opportunities. But humans had proven that when faced with the unknown, they would rise. Not alone, but with others, building a network of collaboration and trust across the stars. In the following months, Earth became a hub of interstellar learning and diplomacy. Young humans trained with alien peers, exchanging knowledge and skills. Scientists collaborated on shared projects, finding solutions to problems that had once seemed impossible. And leaders observed, learning that the human way was not a path to domination, but a path to understanding, cooperation, and inspiration. Captain Mara Elwyn, standing once more on the observation deck of the Aurora III, looked out at the endless stars. The galaxy was vast, full of uncertainty, danger, and wonder, but it was also full of potential. And humanity, through patience, creativity, and empathy, had become a guiding light. The human way, tested through countless missions and trials, had proven itself not just as a method of survival, but as a philosophy capable of transforming worlds, bridging species, and shaping a galaxy where cooperation and understanding were stronger than fear and conflict. And somewhere far beyond the reaches of known space, countless species watched, listened, and began to learn. Humanity had become a force not of domination, but of hope, a reminder that even in a vast and mysterious universe, the courage to act wisely, the willingness to listen, and the ability to work together could change everything.